The color palette for the bedroom is inspired by the hues in the main room, but here the homeowner decided to go with a cooler blue-green on the walls. This is called Quiet Moments, which is the perfect name for this space. Now the cool contrasts against the warmth of the wood on the ceiling, and of course all of the heirloom antiques in their warm wood. It has such a nice eclectic feel, but again, I love how the color kind of pulls everything together. Now, thinking about the mix of cool and warm, I really love how that warm story gets continued into the ensuite with potter's clay. The tendency of most of us is to bring the bedroom color into the ensuite, but I just love how this space brings the warmth of potter's clay as a contrast. It plays so well with the marble and all the antique finishing details. So color can really bring a sense of character to any space and make it its own.
What a beautiful space, Sharon. Now, earlier you gave us tips on how to decorate in Grandmillennial style, so basically incorporating some of your mom's or your grandma's furniture into your space. Now you've got a DIY to transform something new into looking like a vintage style jewel that you found at some far off flea market somewhere. And the Grandmillennial trend definitely lends itself to upcycling. So that's the first part. Let's talk about that. Upcycling as like just a concept.
Yeah, well, so many of the trends today we've been talking about are combining old and new in that mix. And I think whether you're collecting antiques and bringing that into a contemporary setting to elevate the look, upcycling is sort of like you can take a pre-loved piece of any sort and give it a new life, give it a fresh take on life, and you kind of have that sustainable side. You're not throwing things in the garbage. You're loving them again and again. I took this opportunity to upcycle an IKEA, like a fairly new IKEA table, and I think bringing it with personalizing it with color, with embellishments and fabric, you kind of give it a whole new life and a whole new purpose, and it can fit a different style. So you're really personalizing those items.
Absolutely. I know we talked a little bit about the as-is section at IKEA, which I used to live at, because you go there, the pieces are all built already. You can get them at a major discount. This is going to save your marriage, people. And you're going to get it at a discount as well.
What, Trace? Absolutely. And now they call it the circular hub, and
hub,
right? Sounds
very
nice. More like 2020.
Yeah.
And they'll do courses, like they'll help you figure out how to fix some of your pieces. So again, you're getting a longer life out of them. And this is a great example of the kinds of things that you can find there. Like they're perfectly good, put together tables. But again, I really wanted to sort of take this idea from this. It's quite nice and modern, but give it a new spin with color, because it had the right bones for what I wanted. It had that sort of classic, a little bit more traditional with the glass tabletop and kind of more of a streamlined the shelf, but I wanted to make it a bit granny chic.
Yeah, you Grandmillennialized it, which is very nice. Okay, so show us how you did that. How do we start?
Okay, so when we're talking about older pieces, they're generally wood, and I'll have to say that is easier to paint, but it doesn't mean you can't paint laminates and vinyls. It's just a little bit more work. So with this piece, I knew I didn't want it white, but as I said, I absolutely loved it. So sanding is the first thing. Because this is an MDF product, it's got a lot of sheen on it, I actually used my little palm sander with an 80 grit. So you want to sand as much of it as you can, and then to get into the little corner areas, because again, you're just cutting the sheen. You're not bringing it right down to natural wood, because there's no natural wood. Okay, right? So just cutting the sheen, cleaning it really well, and then for paint, before paint, very important, sticks primer.
Primer.
Yeah. And this will just sort of help to stick to the hard to adhere surfaces.
Yeah.
And then I like to use advanced paint. You can use cabinet coat, which is more of a simple water-based product, but I like the cabinet coat that's an alkyd waterborne, and I just find the finish is just so nice.
Couple of coats of paint?
2 coats for sure, and wait if you can at least 8 hours. I waited overnight when I was painting this piece.
For sure.
Okay.
Now we're going to talk about the top part of it, which looks kind of like a tray, but you have a little bit of room to personalize.
I think there's so many fun things that you can do. I really had a ball. So on the back side of the frame, it isn't actually a tray. So what I had to do was cut my thin board. Now you can use Masonite, but I like to use an X-Acto knife, not a saw.
Yeah.
So I just use a thick construction board. It's like a matte board that I got at the art store, and then with an X-Acto knife, I cut out these little areas here so that it will fit. There's some brackets on the underside of the actual piece.
Nice.
So I did that, and then I wanted to put fabric. So you've got your fabric options, anything. I mean, I always have a lot of little pieces of scraps. Exactly. So this is a great opportunity.
This is where you use them.
So place it over top, turn it around. use your spray adhesive, okay, because you want it to be nice and flat.
Yes.
Spray adhesive, and then just trim the edges as needed. Fold them over. I didn't do any sewing. If you're a sewer, you could sew.
Everything in this DIY is speaking my language.
Okay,
Used an X-Acto knife, adhesive spray, like nothing, like no miter saws.
No miter
saws.
saws. Super, super easy, and it had dowels to go on top. And then even when you get to the, the fun side of embellishing it with
any
take
of
a look
this.
at these, Trace. Like,
come on, this trim screams Grandmillennial.
Yes,
Look at it. It's actually kind of nice,
Isn't it
right?
great? It's so much fun. And I had a lot of fun shopping for these pieces. Like, there's so many colors and the texture. So loads of fun. And I just used a glue gun.
That's it.
To go around, so
that's all you
nothing
need.
Crazy. And then look at this. It just is another idea, Trace. If you have some old memento photos, I bought this family. I went to the antique store.
This is not, they're not Grech's.
Right. But it would be a fun way to sort of personalize a space with your own family photos.
I love this idea. Think about that as a gift for someone as well. Great paint project.
Absolutely, little tray.
Yeah, so lovely.